Hello and welcome to this winning formula training video. First off, the good news is that this app is very simple and easy to use, but the purpose of this training demo is we're going to go through exactly how you use the winning formula app out in the field, and also kind of cover off all the really important bits that you need to sort of master, because then that will then make your lives a lot easier. So first off, before we go into it, is the winning formula app has been essentially designed to help save you time. Before, you would have to, at the end of the month, you may have to sit down, put everything into a tracker or a spreadsheet or a diary, and essentially this app is here to help save you time out in the field. It's also got some amazing features such as pricing and also having your appointments scheduled, and we'll cover all of this in the video training. So what I'm going to do is start from the very beginning, and I'll go through it as quickly as I can, but I will stop every so often just to reiterate the point, because there's some things in here that may be a little bit tricky, but trust me, pay attention, and once you've mastered it, it will be so easy to use. So first off, let's start with just locating the app, and you will notice that it will be called Winning Formula. It'll be red and white, and the version number will be on the bottom as well. So let's click on there to open it up. The first time you do that, you may have to just allow some settings, but that's quite straightforward. And if you struggle with any of this, please contact your manager. But first things first, here is what we get when we open the Winning Formula home screen. The first point to note is that you'll be getting prospects already assigned, already scheduled, with all of their details in there, directly from what we call CCM. And what this means is that a customer will call the call centre, they will have a problem, the call centre team will take all of their details, they will look at their zip code, and then based on availability and their area, they will then be assigned to the relevant RSS. So straight out of the bat, the first thing you might notice is that I have 4 appointments already showing in my today's appointment screen. Now what this means is that the CCM team have created 4 appointments for me with time slots. And it's kind of important already to notice these time slots. You've got 8 till 11, 10 till 1, 12 till 3, and 2 till 5. These are the slots where the CCM team will be booking appointments for you. Okay, and before we go any further, because this will come in the next bit of the demo, but let's just make you aware of something, is that these 4 slots are fixed. This is where the CCM team will be booking your appointments for you, but they may also add new prospects into the winning formula that you will need to locate and schedule for yourselves. And what this would be is an emergency slot. So sometimes a customer, it might be a very urgent customer, it might be a very big opportunity, but you may have no availability in your 4 slots. So this is why it's going to be very important to constantly check the app every time you go and visit a customer, because you could have had an appointment moved, or you could have had a potential prospect that you need to call and schedule yourself. So I just wanted to call this out here because that's very important. You don't want to miss out on a good opportunity, and we don't want an unhappy customer either. Okay, so that's the first part. Appointments will be booked for you with all of the details coming from CCM. There is nothing further you have to do at this point, and all these appointments will be visible in your Google Calendar as well. So if I just scroll down a little bit, you can see it says go to Google Calendar, and everything in light blue from 8 a.m. look until 5 p.m. has been booked, and those are all my appointments already booked through CCM. I'm going to go back to the Winning Formula app by clicking the little 3 grey bars at the bottom left hand side here, and click back on the Winning Formula. So that is my day ahead. Now what might also happen is that you might do some door knocking, you might do some cold calls, you might have some prospects that you have generated yourself, that you want to add into the Winning Formula app and also book an inspection with. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. If I have my own prospect that I want to create, I'm going to press the plus button on the bottom right hand side in pink. I'm going to press Create Prospect. And it is really important to add any new prospects that you have because it's very quick and very easy to do so. I'm going to first of all select the lead source. I'm going to select a cold call option. I'm just going to say ants is the primary pest. I'm going to do this very quickly for the demo, but I'm going to put the owner's name in, the telephone number, and also their premise address or their home address. Now there's two things you can do here. If I was cold calling or door knocking and I'm standing right outside that customer's property, I can actually press the little blue button on the right hand side and that will automatically populate the address from where you're standing. It's always worth double checking because you can go in and edit there because maybe that's the wrong number or the zip code might be wrong, but that does help to pre-populate it for you. Or you can click in this find address bar, which is very handy because it's linked to Google and I can just type starting in the customer's address. And I click on that one and it automatically drags through for me. Now this one is very important as well, is the notes section. If I click in notes, because this will go into the prospect details in a second, which I will show you, it might be important just to add a couple of details. So it might be worth entering, I don't know, their pet's name, something that you noticed when you spoke to the customer. Maybe they have an urgent need, maybe they want to see something else, but you can put anything you want in here just to remind you. It's also very important to remember that this is not a feature of the app, but a feature of your mobile phone, is that anywhere you can text, you can talk. So you don't have to be typing everything in, you can actually be talking and the phone will pick it up. So all you need to do whenever you click into any field, if you then click the microphone button here, you can actually start talking and it will pick up everything you say. And that just saves a bit of time. Okay, so we've added all of our prospect details and I'm going to hit submit. And now just to show you what happens, I'm going to go home. And to do that, you click on the three bars at the top left-hand side called the burger menu and go home. And what you may have noticed is that the new prospect section at the top there has gone to 1. So before that was 0, now it's 1 because I've added myself a new prospect. So exactly what I was saying at the start of the training video is that sometimes the CCM team may book you an emergency prospect. So it's always worth keeping attention to this because you won't get a notification, it will just appear there as a number. So it's very important to keep checking in the app regularly throughout the day because you may have a new prospect that you need to go into and you need to book an appointment with. So firstly, let me show you how to do that. I'm going to go into my new prospects, and this could have either been one that I've entered myself like we just saw, or it could be one from CCM that needs to have an appointment and inspection booked, because if you remember, this was the emergency slot that isn't already pre-booked for you. So I'm going to click on the test one that I just made. I then have the option to do a couple of things. I can call the customer directly from the app by clicking on this telephone button here, and that will open up the number for me to call straight away. So I can call the customer to check when would work for them. I could email the customer if I wanted to, and also I have this maps feature as well. If I click on that, it will open up Google Maps and it will tell you how far away the customer is from your location. So that can help you possibly with planning. If you're just finishing up a job or an inspection somewhere, you could see how far away you are from that customer. Okay, so now what we're going to want to do is schedule an inspection with that customer. And this again is very, very important. If we go back to what we were saying at the beginning about CCM, they will be trying to book 4 appointments, 4 inspections per day for you. But things get very busy. So they will be booking you potentially a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in advance, they'll be looking at your calendar. So any appointments that you're self-generating, you need to make sure that you don't double book yourself. You want to make sure that you're not booking over an existing appointment that's already been created, because that would be a bit of a nightmare and you might miss a customer. So I'm going to show you exactly how to get over this. First of all, I've called the customer, I'm ready to book an appointment. So I'm going to click in this little calendar icon in the middle at the top. And what that's going to do is help me book the appointment. I can choose the date. So let's say I know I have some free time tomorrow on Thursday. Press OK. I can then choose my start time. So the customer may be free from 8 till 11. Note there you can select PM or AM. Press OK. I can add any notes if I want to, and I hit submit. Perfect. What this has done is created an appointment in my Google Calendar. And the first time that I do this, I might need to just press allow to some notifications. But what this will have done is created an appointment with that customer for tomorrow. So you can see that the new prospects has gone to 0 because in the eye of the app, you have now done something, you've actioned that customer because you're going to go and pay them a visit. And what will happen when tomorrow comes around, that customer will then appear automatically in today's appointments. Okay, so that is the very first bit of the app that we covered there. That was all about receiving prospects from CCM. Anything for today will appear in today's appointments, but also covering how you can create your own prospects and how you can book appointments with your own prospects. And finally, just being aware to not double book yourself. Now, I am going to show you one trick, and this is a very, very important thing. The app does work with Google Calendar. It does have a thing called a two-way sync. So anything that you add in the winning formula will appear in Google. Now, what it doesn't do, you can't randomly put an appointment in Google. You can't, for example, say I'm going to go and pick my children from school or my own customer appointment. I can't do that straight in Google because the app won't recognize it. But the really positive thing that's very useful and helps with planning in the app is that anything I book in the winning formula, like I just did before, it goes into Google and I can then edit it in Google if I need to. So for example, maybe the customer calls me and says, I can't do today, I need to do tomorrow. Maybe you have a personal day coming up or something like that and you need to book an appointment. It happens. Let's show you just how easy that is to do. So I can see today that I've got 4 appointments coming in, but I need to move one of them. I'm going to click on go to my Google Calendar. I'm going to find the appointment that I need to change. Let's say it's this one at 2 o'clock with Mrs. Applegate. I can click there. I can click edit. And I can either change the day or I can change the time. Hit save, and that will all reflect back into the Winning Formula app, but most importantly, will also reflect back in CCM so that the CCM team don't double book you. So hopefully you could already see, and this is one of the key parts of the training, is please keep on top of any of this admin, because you don't want to get double booked, you don't want to disappoint a customer, and you don't want to miss out on a sale. Okay? So guys, there's the first bit. We've covered everything there about adding prospects and scheduling appointments, and also how to edit those appointments as well if you need to. Hopefully you can see how straightforward that is. And before we kick off on the whole process I do to add my activity, we're going to show you one final thing to do with adding non-sales time. And exactly as I said before, this is why it's super important, is that if you don't add non-sales time to the app, the CCM team will always assume that you are working and that you are free. So let's say you're going on holiday tomorrow, but you haven't added that into the application. the CCM team will book you 4 or possibly 5 inspections for that day. And clearly you'll be on holiday, so you'll disappoint customers and you'll miss out on some sales. That's why it's very important to add any non-sales time to the app. I'm going to show you that. From the home screen, but instead of saying create prospect, I'm going to click on add non-sales time, the little clock icon here. This is then really easy. It works just like Google Calendar. I have 5 options at the top to choose from. I can choose annual leave or vacation, sick leave, training, plannings, or cold calls. I'll come on to cold calls in a second because it works slightly differently, but the first 4 all work in the same way. So let's say I have some annual leave tomorrow. I'm going to click on annual leave where it turns blue. I'm going to select all day because I'll be on a vacation all day tomorrow. I'm going to select Thursday. And this is where the app helps you out a little bit. You can see that already through the winning formula or CCM, the app will tell me that I already have some appointments booked at this time. So what I can do is I can go back into my Google Calendar, which I can actually do from the top right hand corner here. And I can do exactly what we showed before. I can go and I can call the customer and I can edit that appointment or change the date to make sure that everything is correct and right in the application. Okay, so I'm going to do this and we'll just walk through it. So I'm going to answer on annual leave for tomorrow. I'm going to hit submit. And if I open up my Google Calendar, you can see in the top there, it's already gone through as holiday. And what this will mean is that as of this moment, the CCM team won't be able to book any appointments on that day. Simple, you won't get double booked. Now, if I've made a mistake or that changes, this works exactly the same as an inspection. I can click on the event, I can click on my holiday, I can edit it, where I can say, oops, I didn't mean Thursday, I meant Friday. Or you can cancel it altogether by pressing the 3 dots and pressing delete. And what this will do is it will remove it from the winning formula and it will allow the CCM team to be giving you some inspections for this time. Okay, so as you can see, it's all quite simple. It's all quite straightforward. It will just take a little bit of getting used to, just to make sure that when you're scheduling non-sales time, you do it as far in advance as possible. Because as we know, CCM might be booking you 2-3 weeks in advance. So if you know you've got some holidays coming up, please add that in. You'll also, I think, have regular sales meetings or trainings, for example. You should go in and you should add this. Unfortunately, at the moment, you can't do repeat bookings. So unfortunately, you can't say book me every Friday afternoon as training for the year. You will have to go in and do that every time. But you can save yourself a bit of time. Maybe you just do this once a month and you sort your admin out. Maybe you sit down once a month and you block out those dates because that will just help you a lot in the future. Another important thing to note, guys, is that at the moment this also doesn't cover national holidays. So when a national holiday is coming up, because some colleagues do have to work on national holidays, it's important that you go in and you book the national holidays as non-sales time, because this will avoid CCM, again, double booking you. Okay, I'm going to go back to the winning formula. And what we've kind of covered there is the whole administration side of life. It may seem complicated, but it is easy. Once you get the hang of it, believe me, life will be good. So what we're going to move on to now is, well, exactly what do I do when it's time to go and see a customer, and what's my process for adding my sales activity, and how does it work in the winning formula? And this is where you're joining at the right time, because we've added some really cool new features that make life so much faster, so much easier. But again, there will be a couple of bits in here that I will need to make very clear because it's important to get it right. So let's follow this through and let's take you through a couple of examples. I have my today's appointments. I could have scheduled those myself. They could have already been scheduled through CCM, but it's time to go and see my first customer of the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the winning formula. I'm going to click on Mr. Jordan here because here's my first customer. And it's going to open me up at this screen. Now, as we discussed at the start of this training, maybe you want to give them a quick telephone call to say, hey there, I'm on my way. I'll be there in the next 30 minutes or so. Are we still okay? And hopefully they say yes. You can click on the Google Maps icon in blue here, which will open up Google Maps and tell you how far away you are from the location. And then there's a couple of things I'm going to want to do. I'm going to have to do my inspection, which I would do as I would normally. I would go around, I would speak to the customer, I would inspect their property, and then hopefully it's going to come down to time to propose to the customer. So when you're going around and you're doing your inspection, you should be noting down exactly what you're going to build into the proposal. So this is something that I would do right now. I wouldn't show it to the customer just yet because you'll be going through a bit of pricing, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But let's go ahead and add our proposal. So I've clicked on the customer. I've called the customer. I've driven to the customer. I've been doing my inspection, and it's time now to draw up my proposal. I'm at this screen. I'm going to hit plus at the bottom right hand side, and I'm going to hit add proposal. Bring me up to this screen. And the important thing to note already is that this is very fast, very simple to do. It's very important to add in every single service that you propose. The winning formula is all about doing 4 visits a day and proposing 4 things per customer, 4 services per customer. You want to record all of that in here. And the reason this is very important is that it will save you having to duplicate something in the future. If the customer calls you back and you already have everything you proposed in here, you can just go in and sell it. You don't have to re-enter any information because it will all be here. So it's very, very important to add all of your proposal details, and you do them all at the same time. So let me show you how to do that. At the top here, we've got 2 ways to search for a service. You can actually click in the search service bar and start typing, and it will come up with everything that you've just searched for. I've then got 2 options. Either I subcontract it or it's done in-house for this particular service. And this is important to note as well. All of the pricing is generated automatically in the background. You don't have to do anything. You don't need to carry a rate card because it's all done within the app for you. If it's a subcontracted option, let me just show you what that looks like. All it's going to do is ask you to type in the price that the subcontractor has quoted you. So let's type in $1,000, and the pricing side of this will automatically double that. So that's the price you can offer to the customer. But in this case, I know that it's an in-house service. And you'll notice what has changed there is it's going to ask me for the linear footage of the property. So let's say it's 120. The rate card in the background has automatically calculated that the minimum price I should be proposing to the customer is $1,080. Now this is one of the really cool features of the app and of this pricing bit in particular, is that I can actually go higher or lower than this price, and it's super easy to do so. Now, just to note as well, is I can't go below 10% for a job or 16% for maintenance work. And the reason behind this is very simple. This eats into your commission. So if you go below those percentages, you won't be making any money. However, if you do have a tricky customer, you can go a little bit below the rate card to get the sale. But on the positive spin to this, you can go as high as you think you can, or as high as you need to. And it's very easy to do so. I can do this in a couple of ways. I can say I want to go 10% above the rate card. So if I click on the plus button where it says percentage variance, I've gone to 10% there. And you can see the total has gone from $1,080 to $1,188. I could change that myself. I could click there and I could change that to 1200. And it even shows me on the right hand side what the variance percentage is. So I've gone 11% above rate card there. I'm gonna hit add, and that is how simple it is to add my first service that I propose to the customer. So let's just carry on walking through. Let's say we've got some bedbug fumigation to do. You can see here it's asking for the volume in cubic feet. Exactly the same thing again. I can adjust the price, I can go a bit lower, I can go higher. I'm going to click add. I'm going to add 4 lines of business here, 4 services, sorry. Let's also show you, you can also click on the select service drop down, and everything here is alphabetical, listed by the line of business. So you can see every service available in bed bugs through to general pest, down to mosquito. You can see how that works. So it's very easy to find your service. Let's also add in some disinfectant. It's going to ask me for the square footage of the property again, and also how many vehicles might be needed to do the job. I'm going to add 5% to that one, hit add. And then also I maybe notice that I need to do some exclusion work. Let's do protection plan. This is a good one as well because it shows the annual contract value and how many years the warranty will be for. So that's put me at $600. Let's go 5% again and hit add. Job done. I've added my 4 services to this customer's proposal. I can add more if I've done more, that would be great. But also if I've made a mistake and I realise that, the property size is completely different, I've made an error, you can go and click the little blue pencil at any point and you can make the edits. And if you realise you've added one completely by mistake, you can also press the red trash can, which will remove it. Okay, so you can see how easy that was to add my services. You can see how easy it was to adjust the pricing. Great to go as high as you possibly can. But also, it's then easy to record everything. I'm going to scroll down. I can see the total job value. I can see the total contract value. And that's what I can show to the customer at this point. So I'm going to hit submit. And here is kind of what the customer can agree to. And this is now where we're going to ask you to sort of listen up a little bit because it can get complicated. But the app does make life simple. A few things can happen now. So I have done my inspection, I've done my proposal, and what might happen is the customer, let's say the person who's going to sign for this isn't at home, the bill payer isn't at home, they need to come back in the future, we need to come back tomorrow and get it signed. That's okay. We can leave it exactly as it is now, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm just going to go home by pressing those three lines at the top left hand side, then home. I'm going to hit yes here. And what you may have noticed is that my open proposal section has gone to 1. So let's say I need to go back and I need to close this one. I can click on my open proposals. I can click on that customer. And my proposal, if I scroll down, and I see this thing in blue here where it says proposals, I click on there and it's going to drag me back to this exact same screen where I was a few seconds ago. So if you can't close it on the day or the bill payer isn't home, that's fine. You can always find it later in the open proposal section. Okay, it's as easy as that. But let's pretend for this demo that we have managed to sell a few service lines to the customer. So I'm going to hit sold for the ones that I've sold. And I'm going to reject one. When I hit reject, it's going to ask me for a lost business reason. So I'm going to select the price is too high and hit OK. It's very important that you sell what you've sold on the day. And if the customer has rejected one, that's fine. Press reject and hit done at the bottom. It's going to ask you, did you do a site visit? I'm going to say yes. And that is all I need to do to register my activity for the day with that customer. Okay. I'm going to go back to the home screen and I'm going to show you one little trick that is quite interesting because a couple of things can happen at this point. So I believe I've sold something to the customer. I've proposed four service lines, and they've accepted 3. 2 things could happen at this point. They could call me and say, hey there, I'm so sorry, I don't have the money, I need to cancel all of this. Or they could say, hey, you know that other service you offered me? I actually do want it now. And the app can accommodate this. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Once you have marked everything as sold or rejected, the customer is not lost in the app. They will be all viewable in the closed prospects section. So let's click on there, close prospects, and I can see exactly everything I've won, everything that I've lost. So let's just click on the one that I believe we just did. I can see the proposal. And what I'm going to do is hit this big purple copy prospect. And all that has done, it has kind of awoken your old quote. And if I click on the proposal, it's going to bring through exactly what was rejected. So it's really quick and easy. I can then mark that as sold. Done. I went back and I sold my other service that was originally rejected. Okay. Now that other situation that I said, which is, well, they could call you back and it could be within the cooling off period. They just couldn't afford it. They don't want it. They need to cancel. You can do this from the app. So you can go back into your proposal and you can click cancel proposal. And all that will do is change the status to prospect cancelled, and that will sort everything out in the background and it won't count towards your sales figures within the app. I'm going to go back home. But you will notice in the very top of the screen there, it's going to tell you what you've sold for the month. So everything that exactly like we just did, we went in there, we proposed, we sold. Once you mark something as sold in there, it will appear in the sold this month title at the very top, and that will be a combination of both jobs and maintenance work. Okay. So just to kind of summarize so far, bear with me, but it is very important, is we've covered everything from receiving prospects that have already been scheduled via CCM. We've got how to add our own prospects and how to schedule our own prospects. We have learnt how to add non-sales time, but also how to edit any appointments, how to edit any non-sales time. Once you've done it in Winning Formula, to then edit it in Google Calendar. Remember, guys, that the Google Calendar will pick up anything that you add through the Winning Formula, non-sales time or inspections, but not the other way around. You need to make sure that you've added non-sales time or customer visits or inspections in the Winning Formula, because it will then hit your Google Calendar. But if you need to change them at any point, you can then go straight into Google Calendar, find your non-sales time, find your inspection, and you can change it. Okay? And also please remember to add any non-sales time as far in advance as you possibly can. Now, for those with good memories, you'll remember that there was one thing that was slightly different in the non-sales time section, and that was cold calls. So some of you may have targets for cold calls. You may have to do 10 a day, you might have to do 16 a day. You will all have your targets. So let's just walk you through a little bit what you need to do about that. So let's say it's the end of the day and I've done my 16 cold calls. I'm going to click on the plus button. I'm coming back into Winning Formula app. I'm clicking the plus button and I'm going to hit add non-sales time. I'm going to click on the cold call section and I can add a specific time. So I can say I was doing cold calls from 2 o'clock or from 1 o'clock until 2 o'clock, and I managed to do my 16 that I add in at the bottom. Submit. You don't have to go in and add a cold call every time you do one. It's probably easier to do it at the end of the day. Okay, and then that will all be tracked so that your sales manager can understand how many cold calls you're averaging. And it's as easy as that to add it. But my advice is do it at the end of the day. But if you come across any really exciting prospects when you're doing your cold calls, so let's say you knocked on a door and they were desperate for our services, you can then just go straight into the home screen and add the prospect, exactly as we did at the start of this demo. So I've got a really exciting prospect, click the plus button, create prospect, add all of that information in. They will then appear in my new prospect section where I can go in, press the calendar button and book an appointment as soon as I possibly can so that CCM don't double book me. Okay. I think the important point just to finish off this section with is that we have rolled this app out now to around 175 RSSs. In general, it's been very successful. Everyone's really understood it and it's been easy to use and it's helped save a lot of time. The main concern, the main problem has always been the calendar. So please always check when you're adding non-sales time, when you're adding inspections, always double check what's already there. The app will tell you, but always pay attention to that and it will make your life far easier. Okay. A couple of bits then to finish off with on the home screen itself is that, as we said at the start, once you add an appointment to a new prospect, once you have added a proposal, you might lose from the home screen your prospect or your customer that you want to be actioning. And that's why we have the pipeline section, which is the third section down here. And everything that ever happens will be stored in here. So you can see all of your customers, be them new prospects, they've got an appointment made, they've got a quote against them. They will all be in here so that you can find them. Because let's just give you an example of this, which is I know that tomorrow I've got a very important customer, but I can't find them at the moment because tomorrow they'll appear here where I can find some information out about them. But I know in my Google Calendar that the CCM team has booked me a very important meeting for tomorrow. So I can simply go into my pipeline, search in the top right hand side for that customer, and then I can click on the customer and I can see all the information that I might need to before going there. And then I would follow the exact same process. I would go there, I would press the plus button and I would add my proposal and away you go. Okay. There is two things just finally on this, which is when you do get a new prospect or you've added a prospect yourself, it could be a bad prospect in terms of the information could be wrong, you've gone to the wrong house, the customer wasn't interested at all, you didn't even get a chance to do a proposal, and there is a bit of management that you should be doing in the app to help with that, because your managers will be making sure that everything is closed off within the app. So what you don't want is a lot of prospects in there with no action, if you won't be able to do any actions because they're not interested. So if they're not interested, we can go into the prospect section, we can find our customer, and we can click on the trash icon on the top right hand side, and it's going to ask me why was it rejected. So I'm going to say it's bad data, or the customer won't answer the door, and I can add any notes if I want to, and I can click OK. Now this is really, really useful because I would welcome you to do this as often as you can. If you've got an appointment through CCM, or an emergency appointment through CCM, and the prospect didn't answer the door, they weren't home, or they're not interested at all, you should be doing this because this is interesting data that the business can be collecting, because then they won't be sending you off on these bad calls. Okay, so you can click OK and they will be removed from your prospect list. But also, if I know something in here is wrong, if I know the telephone number is wrong, if I know the contact name is wrong, I can click on the edit button on the top right hand side and I can make any of the changes, hit save at the bottom, and all those details will be updated. Okay then everybody, so we're now on to the very last bit of the home page, and then there's only 2 more bits to finish off with. From the home page at the very bottom, there is a My Activities section. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a Go to All Activities section. Now this is really useful. This is for your eyes only, but it's useful for 2 things. Your sales manager could call you and say, hey, what have you been up to this week, or what have you been up to today? And literally everything you add in the winning formula will be here. Okay. And a very important thing to note is that this is an offline app. So you can go in, you can add non-sales time. All of it will be saved until you connect back with some data. So you should always be in the app, you should always be using it because it does work offline. But what you can see is that you can then tell your manager, or you can remember for yourself exactly what you've done in the app. And the reason this is also important is that back when we first launched this, some people might have been saying, oh no, I did go and do that, but the app isn't showing it. So this is really for peace of mind. Anything that's in here has been added and recorded within the app, and it is all synced with the system. This leads me nicely on to kind of the last bit, but I do have one thing to show you first. It's going to be about if something is wrong and you know that, hey, I've been adding appointments, I've been adding proposals, I've been creating prospects, but it's not appearing in My Activities, then we have a problem. And this is something that you should raise a ticket for and speak to your manager, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, because you need to have full confidence that the system is syncing. Okay? I will show you how to do that in the very final bit of the training, but the second to last bit is just explaining to you what is in the home page from the burger menu in the top left hand side, because there is something that is very useful for you to be looking at. Again, as I mentioned at the very start of the training, only a few sort of months ago or last year, if you're from the western side of the business, you would only really be understanding your performance at the end of the month. But at the end of the month, you wouldn't be adding your proposal detail, and it might not be accurate. Whereas now, because everything you add into the app is being recorded, you can have a live view of how you're performing, and you can understand that if you're a little bit behind target, what can you do about it? And if you're above target, then excellent. You just need to carry on doing what you're doing. So from the home menu on the left hand side, we have a thing called My Report. Once you click on that, you'll get a screen that looks something like this. So for the current month, it will show you how you're doing against your target as a percentage. So in this case, I'm not doing very well. I'm only 25% to my target. So I've got some work to do. And it will give you just some key little stats that might help you, improve your performance. You can see first of all, how many days of the month you've actually been selling. So if you go back to when we were talking about adding non-sales time, the app is assuming you're always selling 5 days a week. So that's again why it's important to add non-sales time, because let's say you're actually on vacation for 2 days, but you didn't add it as non-sales time, the app will be assuming you are selling for 5 days. So that's why it's very important to be adding your non-sales time so that it reflects correctly in the reporting. But it also is going to show you at the bottom here how many proposals per prospect are you generating. Because as we know, we're trying to hit the winning formula, we're trying to hit 4. How many visits per day am I doing? How many customers am I seeing? How many services per proposal am I doing? So also very important. Again, I should be up at 4. And it's also going to show you what you've sold, what your BST is, and what your closing rate is. So just really simple, really easy stats. But these are live and completely up to date as of the minute you've entered them. So you can see exactly how you're doing. So I'm just going to go back to Winning Formula app. And now guys, before we wrap up, we do have a final bit that is worth mentioning, because this gets important now, is that we do have a team both in the US and in the UK supporting you if there's ever any issues. Both teams are really willing to help, and 9 times out of 10 they can get the problem fixed within an hour or so. What we want to avoid though is 2 things. What we want to avoid is you noticing there being a problem and then waiting for your weekly review with your manager to say, oh, there's a problem with my phone, and likewise we don't want you raising a ticket to the service desk, and we know the old problem of sales and IT trying to connect to each other. You guys are busy, you guys are talking to customers, you're out in the field, and the service desk might be trying to get more information from you. And you two might never connect, and it might take 2 weeks, and you've got the problem forever, and then you will have to keep going back and entering old information, which nobody wants to be doing. You want to be spending all of your time selling, not doing administration work. So the important thing to note is that if anything looks wrong, so let's say you are adding things and they're not syncing, it gets stuck on a certain screen or anything like that, any bug, any incident, this is exactly how you manage it. The second you notice it, I'm going to click in the top left hand side. I'm going to click on Support View. You then get this screen which has all the technical details. I'm going to hit the home menu again, and I'm going to do this thing here called Email Device DB. And then I'm going to be able to send all this information that's within my phone via Gmail to the service desk. So you guys will know what this is for you. Ask your manager if you don't know, but it's something along the lines of service desk. And here is the one little ticket that I really, really request you do, is that anywhere within here, add any information that might be helpful to help the IT guys resolve your ticket without having to even contact you. So it would be great if you could call here to say what you think the problem is, what you expected it to do, and what it actually did. So if there is let's say an error number, add that in there, add a screenshot it, send it in. Any more information you can have, the better. Because when you send this through, it'll be an IT person at the end of the phone who will pick the email up, and they may need to call you back if the information isn't good. And then exactly what I explained before will happen. You'll never connect, and then eventually you'll get it fixed maybe, and you'll have to go back and enter all of your information again. So it's important that the second you realise there's an issue, follow that process, add some detail, add some screenshots, copy in your manager, and hit send. And as I said, our guys are really good. They will help you get it sorted. So just to wrap up then, guys, that was the demo. We made it as quick as we possibly could. I think the best thing to leave you on is to make sure that you are using the Winning Formula app every time you go and see a customer. I mean, firstly, you need to do it because you'll hopefully be adding your proposal detail. And as we said, remember to add as much proposal detail as you can, even if you know the customer isn't going to buy it. If you proposed it, add that detail in. Because also at the same time, if you're not regularly using your app, a couple of things could have happened that you might completely miss. So the CCM team could have rescheduled an appointment for you. They could actually have deleted one altogether. So if you're not on the app and you're not regularly using it, it won't have a chance to sync, and you may have to go to an appointment where the customer is not expecting you. So again, that's why it's super important to be on here regularly. But also they could be adding an emergency prospect there that you literally need to find within the app. You need to call them, you need to schedule them, and you need to visit them. And again, if you are not constantly checking the app and giving it a chance to sync, you might completely miss out on that, and you'll have an unhappy customer, and you would have missed the chance to make a good sale. So very, very important there. Second point, plan your non-sales time as far ahead in advance as you can. That includes national holidays, that includes repeat meetings such as training, because all of this will help prevent double booking. Anything you add in the Winning Formula app, so anything that's been scheduled by CCM will be visible in your Google Calendar. Any self-generated prospect that you have scheduled an appointment for will appear in your Google Calendar. Any non-sales time you add through the Winning Formula app will appear in your Google Calendar. If you need to change any of those or delete them, move them, edit something, you can then go into Google Calendar, you can edit it directly from there, and it will be reflected back in your app, which is then reflected back to the CCM team, so you won't be double booked. Okay? Finally, if there is an issue, please don't sit on it. Please raise a ticket through the exact way we just showed at the end there, and contact your manager as well. Keep them in copy so that they can help they can help accelerate it if they need to. But otherwise, guys, that is everything for this virtual training. Hopefully it was useful, and if you have any questions, please do contact your manager. But hopefully you enjoy the app, hopefully you see how much time it saves you, and best of luck with it. Thank you.